Something you use every single day could be the one thing slowly working against your health, and most people never question it. You turn on the tap, fill a glass, and drink without thinking twice. It's convenient, cheap, and always available. But in 2025, more people are starting to ask a simple question: is tap water actually safe to drink anymore? The answer isn't as simple as yes or no. In many places, tap water still meets basic safety standards. Governments regulate it, and treatment facilities work to remove harmful contaminants. On paper, everything looks fine. But here's where things get complicated. Those safety standards are often based on outdated guidelines. Some regulations haven't kept up with modern pollution, industrial chemicals, or aging infrastructure. What was considered safe years ago may not reflect today's reality. And then there's the journey water takes before it reaches your glass. Even if water leaves a treatment plant clean, it still has to travel through miles of pipes, many of them old, corroded, or poorly maintained. Along the way, it can pick up unwanted substances like heavy metals, bacteria, or residues from previous contamination. This is one of the biggest concerns in 2025, not just how water is treated, but how it's delivered. In older cities especially, infrastructure hasn't been fully upgraded. Pipes installed decades ago are still in use. Over time, these systems degrade, increasing the risk of contamination. That means the quality of your tap water doesn't just depend on treatment, it depends on your local system, your building, and even your plumbing. And this is where many people start to feel uncertain. Because while official reports may say your water is safe, they don't always reflect what's happening at the point of use your home. So naturally, people look for alternatives. Bottled water seems like an easy solution. It feels cleaner, safer, more controlled. But it comes with its own set of problems. It's expensive over time. It creates environmental waste. And surprisingly, it's not always higher quality. In many cases, bottled water comes from similar sources as tap water, just with added filtration and branding. Then there are home filtration systems. Some are effective, but high-quality systems can be expensive. Installation can be complex. Maintenance adds ongoing costs. Filters need to be replaced regularly, and performance varies depending on the model. So now you're left with a dilemma. Tap water might not be as safe as you assumed. Bottled water is costly and not always better. And advanced filtration systems can be out of reach for many households. This leads to a deeper question. What does safe water really mean in today's world? For some, it means removing as many contaminants as possible. For others, it means having control, knowing exactly what they're drinking and not relying entirely on external systems. And that shift in thinking is important. Because in 2025, the conversation is no longer just about safety standards. It's about independence, reliability, and consistency. People want solutions they can understand, manage, and trust. This is why there's growing interest in alternative approaches, especially methods that allow individuals to improve water quality at home without relying on expensive or complex systems. Some focus on basic filtration. Others explore ways to modify water properties, like adjusting mineral content or pH levels. You may have heard of alkaline water, for example. Supporters claim it offers certain benefits, while critics argue the evidence is mixed. But regardless of where you stand, the underlying idea is clear. People are actively searching for better ways to manage their water. Not because tap water is always dangerous, but because it's not always predictable. And unpredictability creates doubt. The key insight here is simple. It's not just about whether tap water is safe in general. It's about whether it's consistently safe for you, in your specific situation, over time. That's a much harder question to answer. Because safety isn't static. It can change based on location, infrastructure, environmental factors, and even seasonal conditions. So instead of relying on a single yes or no answer, a more practical approach is to think in terms of control and awareness. Understanding your water source, knowing your options, and choosing a solution that fits your needs, your budget, and your level of involvement. For some people, that might mean using a basic filter. For others, it might mean exploring alternative systems that can be built or managed at home with minimal cost. The important part is not ignoring the question. Because the assumption that, it's probably fine, is exactly what keeps most people from ever looking deeper. And once you start looking, you realize there are more variables than you expected. That doesn't mean you should panic. It means you should be informed. Because when it comes to something as essential as water, small improvements can make a meaningful difference over time. And having even a basic level of control over what you consume daily is more valuable than most people realize. So, is tap water safe to drink in 2025? Sometimes, yes. Always, not necessarily. And that gap between usually safe and consistently safe is where most of the real conversation happens. If you've made it this far, you're already thinking more critically than most. And that's a good place to start. If you want to go deeper, there's a resource in the description that breaks down a simple approach some people are using to improve their water at home without relying on expensive systems. It's not about hype, it's about understanding options and seeing what might work for you. And if you're interested in learning more about topics like this, practical, everyday things that impact your health and routine, make sure to subscribe. Because once you start asking better questions, you start finding better answers.